Hi everyone. This year's union budget introduced many changes to the personal income tax. The new regime was made the default regime and the tax slabs were changed to attract taxpayers to the new regime. However, many people are still confused whether they should switch to the new regime or stick with the old regime and continue with their tax saving investments. In this video, we will look at various income levels and investment scenarios to help you determine if the old or the new regime is better for you. First, we will start with people earning less than 5 lakh per annum and go all the way up to 25 lakh plus and calculate what their tax outgo will be in both the regimes and at what investment amount there is a break-even between the old and the new regimes. Before going to the various scenarios, let's look at the tax slab rates for both the regimes from April 1, 2023. Let's start with the old regime. Old regime has no changes to last year. The tax slab and tax rates remain the same. All the big changes this year came to the new tax regime. Both the income tax slabs and also the tax rates were changed this year. So here are the key points which you have to consider before you do your tax planning. Now you should know that the new income tax regime will be the default regime, but the taxpayers will also have the option to choose the old regime. So the standard deduction of 50,000 to salaried employees and deduction for family pension up to 15,000 was currently allowed only in the old regime. However, it is proposed that both these deductions will now also be extended to the new regime. The new tax regime does not allow for any other deductions except these. However, the old regime will still have the deductions like tax deductions under ATC, ATD, HRA, home loans, NPS investments, etc. Now let us look at how much tax will I pay for each of these income levels and which regime is better for me. We'll also see how much investment is required to make the old regime better than the new regime. Let's start with 5 lakh income. For 5 lakh annual income, both old and new regime are the same. So you can choose any of these regimes. You can see in the chart here. For 6 lakh annual income, without tax saving investments, the new regime is better than the old regime. You can see it in the chart here. The deductions that you have to claim under the old regime is 50,000 for 6 lakh annual income to make it more attractive than the new regime. For 7 lakh annual income without tax saving investments, the new regime is better than the old regime. In the old regime, you will end up paying 42,500 tax. However, with deductions of about 1,50,000, you can make both the old and the new regime same and effectively pay zero tax. For 8 lakh annual income, without tax saving investments, the new regime is better than the old regime. In the new regime, you will pay 30,000 tax and in the old regime, you will pay 62,500 tax. However, by making an investment or claiming deductions of 1,62,500, you can bring the tax liability of the old regime equal to the new regime. For 9 lakh annual income, without tax saving investments, the old regime tax due is 82,500, whereas the new regime you will just pay 37,500. However, by claiming deductions of about 2,25,000 under the old regime, you can bring the tax due on old regime same as the new regime. Moving on to the 10 lakh annual income category. In 10 lakh annual income category, under the old regime, you will pay 1,02,000 and under the new regime, you will pay 52,500. By making an investment of 2,50,000, you can bring tax due same as the new regime. For 11 lakh, the tax on the old regime will be 1,27,500 and in the new regime, it will be 67,500. To break even, you have to invest about 2 lakh rupees. For 12 lakh annual income, without tax savings, your tax due will be 1,57,500 under the old regime and 82,500 under the new regime. You can bring down the tax due on the old regime by investing 2,50,000 and claiming deductions. For 13 lakh annual income, without tax saving investments, under the old regime, you have to pay 1,87,500 tax and under the new regime, you have to pay just 1 lakh tax. In this case, the old regime will become better if your deductions are more than 2,90,000. For 14 lakh annual income, without any tax saving investments, your taxable income will be 13,50,000 and you will pay a tax of 2,17,000 under the old regime and just 1,20,000 under the new regime. You can bring down the tax liability under the old regime. You can bring down the tax liability under the old regime by investing 3,25,000 and bringing the tax due only to 1,20,000, which is equal as the new regime. For 15 lakh annual income, without tax saving investments, your tax due will be 2,47,500 and under the new regime it will be just 1,40,000. You can bring down the liability to 1,40,000 under the old regime if you make an investment of 3,58,000. For 17.5 lakh annual income, tax due on the old regime is 3,22,500, whereas in the new regime it is 2,10,000. Old regime becomes better if your deductions are more than 3,75,000. Similarly, for 20 lakh, the new regime is better than the old regime if you are not planning for any investments. Under the old regime, you will pay 3,97,500, and under the new regime, you will pay 2,85,000. However, you can make the old regime better than the new regime by claiming deductions of about 3,75,000. For an income of 22.5 lakh, new regime is again better than the old regime if you are not planning for tax saving investments. You can bring down the liability for the old regime if your deductions are more than 3,75,000. Again, for 25 lakh, it's a similar scenario where without investment, new regime is better than the old regime, where in the new regime you will just pay 4,35,000 and in the old regime you will pay 5,47,500. You can bring down tax liability of the old regime if your deductions are more than 3,75,000. So in conclusion, if your income is below 5 lakh, you can choose any of the regimes. If you are earning between 5 to 15 lakh, you have to calculate your investments and also the deductions which you can claim and decide the regime. If you don't want to invest and block your money in certain types of investments, go for the new regime. However, if you're earning more than 15 lakh, old regime would be advisable for those whose deductions and exemptions claims are more than 3.75 lakh annually. Thanks for watching this video. This video is for educational purpose, and do consult your tax advisor before making this decision of picking the new and the old regime. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe for more such content.